The midday sun draped itself lazily over the yard, casting dappled shadows across fluttering lines of laundry shirts, towels, bedsheets, swaying like gentle sighs between breaths. The air was thick with warmth and the faint scent of soap, mango, blossoms, and sun-warmed wood. Kevin stood barefoot by the old basin, forearms wet and glistening, sleeves hiked past his elbows. His hands moved through the water rhythmically, stirring white foam around cotton and linen. The steam rising from the water curled around his jaw, softening his already tender features. A splash dot, then a shock of cold water spattered across his calves. He looked over his shoulder. Dito stood a few paces away, shirtless, a crooked grin curving. His lips, his bronze skin gleamed with sweat, chest rising and falling with just enough exertion to catch Kevin's attention. "That wasn't an accident," Kevin said, eyes narrowing, but the curve at the corner of his mouth betrayed him. Dit tilted his head, eyes roaming shamelessly. "I'm a soldier. I act with intention." Kevin didn't hesitate. He lifted a soaked cloth and snapped it expertly across the distance. It hit Dito square in the chest. With a wet slap, Dito paused. "Moxtant, you're declaring war." Kevin only raised a brow. "Bring it." What followed was chaos, laughter, movement, breath. Dito lunged. Kevin darted through the maze of drying sheets. The linen clung to them briefly, brushing against arms and backs as they spun, ducked, collided. But Kevin never made it far. Strong arms caught him from behind, hoisting him off the ground in one swift, heated motion. Kevin's breath hitched as his back pressed to Dito's chest, the heat of bare skin meeting soaked cotton. Dito didn't let go right away. Instead, he held him there, Kevin's feet dangling just off the earth, his mouth near Kevin's ear, his voice low and rich. "Got you." Kevin's chest rose and fell, laughter softening into something quieter, something breathless. "You always do." Dito turned him slowly, one arm still wrapped around Kevin's waist. Their eyes met close enough to feel the air shift between them. Dito's other hand came up, brushing damp hair from Kevin's forehead, his thumb grazing the side of his temple before trailing down to his cheek. "Every time I look at you like this," Dito murmured, voice roughened by sun and sweat and something deeper, "it gets harder to let go." Kevin's hand slid up over Dito's chest, feeling the rhythm of his heart, the damp heat of skin beneath his palm. "Then don't." Dito's lips hovered a breath away. He didn't kiss him, not yet, just rested his forehead against Kevin's, their noses brushing, their exhales mingling. His hands roamed slowly, one along the dip of Kevin's lower back, the other curving at his nape, holding him there. The world fell quiet, no longer just play, no longer just routine, but something lingering in the humid air between them, that pulsed with memory, want, and the warmth of being fully seen. They stood there, locked in soft intensity, surrounded by the sway of linen and the golden hush of afternoon. That the laundry could wait, so could everything else, because right now, in the quiet tangle of arms and breath, they belonged only to each other. They stood there, locked in soft intensity, surrounded by the sway of linen and the golden hush of afternoon, and in the silence, Kevin's mind drifted back to the night before, to the way Dito had whispered his name like a prayer, how their bodies had found rhythm in the dark, guided only by breath, by trust, by the fire that had long smoldered between them. It hadn't been wild, just in movement. It had been wild in honesty, in the way Kevin had surrendered, utterly, and how Dito had received him with reverence and hunger. Kevin could still feel it, the echo of touch, the grip of strong hands on his hips, the deep, grounding weight of Dito above him, around him, within him, the warmth of skin meeting skin, not in haste, but in aching, slow devotion. His knees weakened slightly at the memory, his breath catching, as his fingers curled instinctively at Dito's chest. Dito felt it, sensed the shift. His grip at Kevin's waist tightened, his voice low. Thinking about last night, Kevin didn't answer with words. He just pressed himself closer, eyes heavy-lidded, voice no more than a hush. Still feeling it. Dito's smile was slow, knowing, good, so am I. Kevin laughed softly, flushed now for a different reason. He buried his face briefly against Dito's shoulder, as if to hide but also to breathe him in again. That scent, salt, smoke, something unmistakably. Dito stirred his blood. They kissed then, not rushed, not innocent. A kiss that hummed with last night's memory and today's promise. A kiss that said, we're not done yet, not even close. And around them, The wind played with sheets and shirts and bedsheets, as if trying to eavesdrop on what only their hearts fully knew. Later, when the heat had softened and the house fell into the hush of early afternoon, Kevin found himself at the small desk in the corner of the bedroom. The sunlight spilled across the floor in golden lines, warm and quiet like a lullaby. Journal lay open, half filled, its pages worn and tender from years of touch. He dipped the pen in ink, fingers pausing mid his breath, hitching slightly. Not from doubt, but memory. Dear Dito, I've written to you before dozens of times. Letters that never made it past my hands, some filled with longing, others with anger, some just silence, pretending I didn't miss you. He blinked once, slowly, the words anchoring something in his chest. Behind him, footsteps bare familiar soft against the floorboards, but Kevin didn't turn. Dito sat nearby, folding shirts in calm, methodical movements, but his gaze never left Kevin. The lines of Kevin's shoulders, the curve of his neck as he bent over the page, the stillness in his fingers that only came when he was thinking too much. Kevin's pen moved again. Now, I don't need to write them anymore, because you're here, and somehow, it's scarier than when you weren't, because now I know how good it feels, and I don't want to lose it. He closed the journal slowly, voice quiet, eyes still fixed ahead. He said, I used to write you every week during those years apart. Silence. Then movement, decisive and slow. Dito rose. He stepped behind Kevin, his hands coming to rest on Kevin's shoulders. But they didn't stay there, they moved it gently, deliberately, fingertips brushing down along his arms before sliding inward to wrap around his torso, pulling Kevin back against his chest. Kevin let himself be taken, body leaning fully into Dito's embrace, his hands falling away from the desk. Dito's lips touched the side of his neck softly at first, then again, longer, slower. I wish I'd written back, he murmured into Kevin's skin, breath warm and voice thick with something deeper than regret. Kevin shivered. You didn't have to, he whispered, his voice barely holding. You showed up. Dito's grip tightened. One hand slid upward beneath Kevin's shirt, splaying across his bare chest, fingertips firm and possessive over his heartbeat. The other hand traced his waist, his side, memorizing skin long missed, and now wholly his. Kevin turned, his face, eyes meeting Dito's over his shoulder, quiet, glassy, full. Dito leaned in. Their mouths met in a kiss that started soft but deepened instantly, slow, then slower still, like they were tasting every second they'd been apart. Kevin's hand reached behind to cup Dito's nape, holding him there, pressing their mouths closer, hungrier, need tangled with gratitude in the space between them. Say it again, Kevin breathed, lips brushing Dito's. I showed up, Dito answered, his forehead resting against Kevin's. And I'm not leaving. Their kiss, deep and hot, aching, full of all the words they couldn't write down. Kevin twisted slightly in his chair, pulling Dito closer, needing to feel the weight of him, the heat, the pulse of everything that had simmered for years. Their bodies pressed together, breath growing uneven, hands now wandering freely, chests heaving, skin flushed. But it wasn't just desire, it was recognition, a reunion of souls that had spent too long apart. They broke only when the need for air overtook them, foreheads still pressed, eyes locked. No more letters. No more waiting. Just now, and hands, and breath, and the kind of touch that said, I found you and I'm staying. The journal had been left behind, forgotten on the desk pages, still damp with ink, but no longer enough to hold the truth between them. Dito didn't speak as he took Kevin's hand and gently guided him away. From the chair, the movement wasn't rushed. It wasn't forceful. It was a pull born from certainty, a quiet gravity that said, this is where we're meant to be. The bed creaked softly as Kevin sat down first, his eyes never leaving Dito's. Sunlight filtered through the slatted window, painting pale lines across the sheets. Dust motes danced in the air like faint memories. Dito knelt before him, hands resting at Kevin's knees. Let me learn you again, he said softly, not with letters, but with this. His hands moved slowly up over Kevin's thighs, sliding under the hem of his shirt, lifting it inch by inch. Kevin's breath caught as the fabric rose, bearing skin that had known Dito's touch and shadow, and now welcomed it in full light. Dito pressed his lips to Kevin's stomach, soft, reverent, as though he were whispering apologies through skin. Kevin's fingers slid into his hair, anchoring him there, eyes fluttering shut as his body responded, melting into each kiss. Each breath they moved together onto the bed. Every motion was slow, deliberate rediscovery. Ditto's hands were everywhere at once, strong on Kevin's back, tender at his jaw, grounding at his waist. Kevin arched into each touch, mouth parting with soft gasps that turned the air electric. The way their legs tangled, the way their chests met bare skin against bare skin, slick with heat and longing. The way their kisses grew deeper, slower, hungrier. It was not a claiming, it was a remembering, a worship, a vow. Kevin pressed his forehead to Ditto's, fingers trembling as they gripped Ditto's arms. You feel like everything I ever wrote down, but never dared to say. Ditto kissed him in response, long and lingering, pouring every unspoken word into the space between them. Their hips moved in sync, bodies finding rhythm with a quiet urgency that built not from lust, but from years of missing, of wanting, of waiting. They held nothing back, no fear, no shame, only honesty in every moan, every gasp, every grasp, every grasping hand that begged closer. Time blurred, the light outside dimmed, golden fading into dusk, but neither of them noticed. They were wrapped in something deeper than daylight, something fierce and holy. And when it was done, when breath had evened and limbs had stilled, Kevin curled into Ditto's chest, his cheek resting just above the heartbeat he'd come to know better than his own. Ditto held him tight, one arm curled beneath Kevin's neck, the other tracing light lines along his spine. Kevin's voice was a hush in the half-light. That was more than anything I ever wrote. Ditto kissed his forehead, lips lingering. That was my reply, and in that moment, beneath tangled sheets and fading gold, no letter was needed. Their bodies had said everything. The room had grown dim. Outside, the wind stirred gently through the trees, carrying the distant sound of night insects and rustling leaves. The village below was quiet now, lights flickering faintly like stars that had descended to rest on earth. Inside, they lay wrapped in each other beneath the thin, crumpled sheet, bare skin, warm against warm skin. Kevin rested with his head on Ditto's chest, his leg draped over Ditto's thigh, their hands still tangled between them. No words had passed since the last kiss. Only breath, only the rise and fall of two bodies. Finally at peace, Kevin shifted slightly, the tip of his nose brushing along Ditto's collarbone before he spoke, soft, hesitant, as if afraid the sound might shatter the moment. Do you ever think about what might have happened if we never met again? Ditto was quiet for a beat, then answered with certainty. I would have kept searching, he said. Even if I didn't know it was you I was looking for. Kevin's lips curved faintly against Ditto's skin, and I would have kept writing letters, not to send, just to feel like I still had a part of you. Ditto turned slightly, enough to tuck Kevin closer, to rest his cheek against the top of Kevin's head. His hand moved in slow, steady strokes across Kevin's back, grounding him. You have all of me now, he said. Kevin looked up, eyes wide and vulnerable in the low light. Do I really? Ditto met his gaze, his voice quiet but unwavering. Every piece, even the broken ones. Kevin closed his eyes, breathing him in. There was silence, then safe, heavy silence. And in that hush, Kevin murmured, when you hold me like this, the world disappears. Ditto kissed the center of his forehead, slow and sure. Then let it. For now, there's only us. Their legs shifted slightly, adjusting into a more perfect tangle. Kevin let his fingers rest lightly on the curve of Ditto's chest, tracing absent circles over the steady beat beneath. Promise me something, Kevin whispered. Anything. Even if the world pulls us apart again, come back to me, always. Ditto tightened his arms around him, his voice a breath against Kevin's ear. I swear it, in every lifetime. Kevin smiled, eyes damp but peaceful. They lay there, wrapped in warmth, in breath, in everything they had reclaimed. The night deepened around them, but inside that room, time folded. Everything else, distance, silence, fear had faded away. What remained was simple, true. Two souls, one breath, and a promise made beneath the quiet between heartbeats. Evening draped itself over the land like silk, soft and shimmering. The sky deepened to indigo, and the world quieted beneath the hush of stars. Fireflies blinked lazily through the tall grass, and the old mango tree stood tall above them like a guardian of whispered secrets. A woven blanket lay beneath its wide branches, and upon it Kevin and Ditto, tangled in each other's warmth. Kevin was curled against Ditto's side, his head resting just below the soldier's collarbone. One of Dito's arms was wrapped around him loosely, the other reaching occasionally for slices of mango laid out between them. The fruit was golden, slick with summer sweetness. Dito picked up a slice and held it to Kevin's lips. Kevin opened, his mouth slowly, the tips of Dito's fingers brushing his tongue as he bit down. The mango juice dripped, sticky against his lower lip. Dito didn't pull his hand back right away. Instead, he reached up and ran his thumb along Kevin's mouth, wiping the juice away, but his touch lingered, slow, intentional. Kevin's eyes met his, a little darker now. "You're shameless," he whispered, but his voice trembled with something more than amusement. "You like that about me," Dito replied, low and unrepentant. Kevin's breath caught slightly as Dito leaned closer, his hands slipping beneath Kevin's shirt, resting warm against the skin of his waist. Fingers splayed there, possessive, reverent. Kevin breathed. Dito's lips brushed the shell of his ear soft at first, then lower, trailing to the hollow just below it. Kevin shivered, leaning in instinctively. His hand came up to cup Dito's jaw, drawing him closer. "Do you ever wonder?" Kevin murmured, voice uneven. "What would have happened if we never met again?" Dito pulled back only enough to look at him, their faces just inches apart. His thumb traced Kevin's cheekbone, slow and grounding. "I'd still be walking," he said, "still searching, even if I didn't know what I was looking for." Kevin's chest rose and fell, his breath brushing Dito's lips. "That's what I was doing too." Their mouths met not in haste, but in slow surrender, a kiss that deepened with each passing second. Hungry not for possession, but for presence. Kevin shifted, pushing Dito back just slightly so he could straddle his lap, the blanket rustling beneath them. His hands slid up over Dito's shoulders, fingertips digging in as their chests pressed fully together. The fireflies flickered around, them like breathless stars. Dito's hands found Kevin's lower back, pulling him tighter, anchoring him. Their kiss turned deeper, wet, aching, filled with every moment they'd once lost and now reclaimed. Kevin pulled back slightly, lips swollen, breath shallow. He rested his forehead against Dito's, both of them panting softly in the warm night air. "I want," Kevin began, voice shaking. "You have me," Dito interrupted, firm and sure, hands roaming down Kevin's sides, thumbs pressing gently into his hips. Kevin arched into him, skin to skin beneath lifted fabric, heartbeat drumming. Wild beneath the moonlight dot above them, the moon watched, not as a witness of promises made, but of bodies rediscovering the sacred language of longing, of a love that no longer needed permission. Dito kissed Kevin again, slower this time, but no less consuming, and when they finally pulled apart lips, still brushing, Kevin whispered, breathless, "This isn't a dream, right?" Dito's fingers threaded through his hair, pulling him close once more. "No, it's just us, finally living what we never got to write." And as the stars pressed closer and the trees shivered gently above them, they sank back into the blanket, curled into Dito's body, Dito's hand stroking slow, lazy lines along his bare back. They didn't speak again that night. They didn't need to, because now, their love wasn't just remembered, it was felt, claimed, and lived. The world stirred slowly. Morning light slipped through the branches of the old mango tree in slanted gold beams, dappling the blanket below with flickers of warmth. A soft mist clung to the grass, glistening with dew, as birds began to call one by one, tentative, like a lullaby trying to wake the day. Kevin blinked awake, his breath fogging faintly in the cool dawn air. He didn't move. Dito was still asleep beside him, one arm wrapped firmly around Kevin's waist, the other tucked beneath his own head. Their legs were entangled beneath the blanket, and Kevin's bare chest rose and fell in rhythm with deeper, steadier breath. For a moment, Kevin simply watched him. Dito's face in sleep was achingly peaceful, his jaw relaxed, his lashes still, his lips parted slightly as if mid-dream. There was a softness here that Kevin rarely got to see, a man known for strength and command, now undone by mourning, by rest, by love. Kevin lifted a hand and brushed a finger along the edge of Dito's brow, then down the bridge of his nose, featherlight, reverent, as if still confirming, "You're here, you're real." Dito stirred slightly, eyes fluttering open, voice low and gravel rough. "Morning." Kevin smiled. "I wasn't ready to wake you." "You never have to," Dito murmured, pulling Kevin closer with ease until their chests touched again, skin warming skin beneath the rising sun. Kevin tucked his head beneath Dito's chin, sighing deeply. I could stay like this forever. You can, Dito said, brushing his hand slowly down Kevin's back, lingering at the curve of his spine. There's nowhere I'd rather be. They stayed wrapped in each other's arms as the light grew brighter, golden warmth creeping over their bare shoulders. Chasing away the chill dot, Kevin tilted his face up, and Dito met his lips in a kiss, so slow and so deep it felt like waking and dreaming at once. There was no urgency, just the quiet worship of a morning earned bodies, still aching pleasantly from the night before, hearts thudding in silent agreement. Kevin smiled against Dito's mouth. We made love under a mango tree. Dito chuckled, voice low. Romantic, sticky, Kevin corrected with a laugh. I think there's mango juice in my hair. Dito ran his fingers through it, teasing. I regret nothing. Kevin leaned into his touch like a cat, humming softly. Neither do one. And as the village slowly came alive in the valley, ballroosters crowing, firewood cracking, distant laughter echoing, Kevin and Dito remained in their small, hidden world beneath the tree, wrapped in each other, bathed in sunlight, breathing as one dot, no longer searching, just staying, just being.
In shadows deep, secret sleep, a whisper starts to bloom. My heart, it aches for love it takes to banish all the gloom. A silent gaze through crowded days, a longing in your eyes. We walk apart, a hidden art beneath the same vast skies. Forbidden stars, they light our way, a love the world won't see. But in this quiet, sacred space, it's only you and me. No spoken vow, no public bow, just intertwined desires. A secret fire burning higher, fueled by our forbidden fires. Your gentle touch, it means so much, a comfort in the night. A stolen glance, a tender dance, bathed in soft moonlight. They say it's wrong where we belong, a path we shouldn't tread. But every beat so bittersweet, by your presence I am led. Forbidden stars, they light our way, a love the world won't see. But in this quiet, sacred space, it's only you and me. No spoken vow, no public bow, just intertwined desires. A secret fire burning higher, fueled by our forbidden fires. The world may frown, may try to drown the feelings we possess, but love's true art within each heart can conquer all distress. Though paths diverge and judgments surge, our spirits intertwine. A love so strong where we belong, a bond truly divine. Forbidden stars, they light our way, a love the world won't see. But in this quiet, sacred space, it's only you and me. No spoken vow, no public bow, just intertwined desires. A secret fire burning higher, fueled by our forbidden fire. And as the dawn begins to break, our love remains unheard. But in our souls it takes its tolls, each silent loving word.